Well, would you believe it? Another month has gone by. We are all fond of making jokes about how it's the 150th of March or something like that, because the COVID crisis continues, the lockdown at whatever exactly level it is continues, level 3 here right now, and we all still sit in this holding pattern waiting to see what's going down. Well, not surprisingly, when looking at the astrology of it all, it doesn't look like that much is changing. So we're going to be sitting with the status quo more or less for at least another month. Well, looking at the charts, it actually seems that right now, here at late July, we've got a 2-month arc until there are some significant changes in how the mass experience, the lockdown and everything that we're having to deal with around corona issues actually changes. So it doesn't mean that there won't be a level shift, but I'd be surprised if there was. It looks like we're more or less in the situation we are in right now into September. What is interesting is that the charts also make it look like Parliament might actually chirp up. A lot of people have been complaining about the silence of Parliament in general. We know that the recess is in about a month's time, and there's of course a lot of work that they have been doing more silently, but it does seem as if we're going to have some words or something like that from the representatives. The representation of our people, of course, is there, and perhaps some improvement or adjustment or something like that that affects the lockdown regulations as they stand. But for the most part, they ain't going anywhere. And it also looks like the behind-the-scenes battle between the Minister of Cooperative Governance, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, and the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, is actually going on. A lot of people have claimed it more as a conspiracy theory. The presidency has explicitly denied that she has any agendas or there's anything like that going on. But astrologically, the chart clearly shows he is in a struggle with a powerful woman, and astrologically they are at a point where her power is able to block his. It is some kind of a struggle going on. For those of you who've been watching for the last few months, you may remember that for many months I've been warning that Ramaphosa faces a lot of conflict behind the scenes, a lot of challenge to his presidency and the way that he's running it. The public face of that to us might be the Dlamini-Zuma control that is mandated by the Disaster Management Act, but even unrelated to disaster, there is a deeper battle that is unmistakably going on in this government, and that might at least partially explain the general paralysis of this president, who astrologically pretty much continues to do nothing, which is really pretty much what he's been doing the whole time. So there's no indication of any change in him or the outward situation. For him, it also becomes very critical late in August and in September. So I think that the changes or announcements or shifts that we see at that particular time will also be related to what has been happening to him. Hopefully, it's a taking back of power, but it doesn't look like that so much. Firstly, it's really, as we've discovered, not really in his nature to exert presidential power mysteriously, despite being a president. And secondly, we can see that the bigger picture of the challenge and threat to his presidency takes us into next year. Next year, we'll have the discussion about whether his presidency survives. This year, it's like, I don't want to say I'm looking any further than March of next year, because the arc that he is currently on takes us that far and has a lot of struggle in the August-September period, which is starting as we speak. So behind the scenes, things are reaching a peak. In front of the scenes, as regards the health crisis at the level that it is, if we are to see any eventual reduction of our curve or anything like that, that looks like it's about 9 weeks from now. It seems like we've just got to hang in there into September to get any real shift in the situation that we face. The larger COVID situation, the astrology of it goes on clearly until December, and the bigger picture is not going to shift significantly until the November-December period, and then more significantly in the first few months of next year. Again, more about that at a later date. To all intents and purposes, we're in the situation that we're in some way or other until the end of the year, with a break starting in September. However, because of the presidential crisis going on behind the scenes, we can only hope that that break improves the situation for this country all around. It's not only the COVID crisis we face, as we know, the economic crisis and the ongoing State Capture Commission and the various unaddressed corruption cases of the NPA. All of these things are what South Africa needs to see action on, and that's what might take until September before we really do see any action on those other fronts as well. It does seem as if the country is making connections with new and slightly dubious other countries, and as we continue with our economic crisis that is developing and getting out of control, and our resource crisis, from PPE resources for personal protective equipment resources to oxygen to other things that are needed in the corona crisis, as well as other things that will be affecting our economy at such a time when our economy is so low. It does look like we're making connections with unknown or previously unknown or slightly shady other characters, which might be what's necessary at this point. Hopefully shady doesn't mean that they're doing dark things, and it just means, well, it's not the usual lines of supply. You know, in this country, that just might be opening to more corruption, so we're going to have to maintain a close watch. And maybe that's what's promising about the chart showing that Parliament is stronger, which represents the voice of the people. So we can also interpret that as the voice of the people is stronger. It's clear from the charts that the voice of the opposition is louder, and all of these things are needed. Although we have to be sensible about compliance with health protocols, that is very important, and we need to see beyond ourselves and our own individual complaints and claims. We still need to be vigilant about a government that is so undermined by self-interest, corruption and inaction that is the, let's call it, unintended effect on the corona crisis. So we have a strong parliament and we have a strong opposition that hopefully will be loud and strong, and hopefully a lot of that opposition is from grassroots and civil society, in addition to what we will hopefully see in the parliamentary setting. Finally, on one good news note, it looks like there is a sporting development. Sport has been very paralyzed over this time, and in this next month it looks like there's some developments in sport which will give encouragement and hope to South Africans. Not to be underestimated, sport has united this country on more than one occasion, and it looks like once again it might be that kind of national spirit to the rescue. But at the bottom line, what sport teaches us is the strength that we get when we are united against a common foe. And if we can take that lesson from sport out into the coronavirus situation, united against a common foe, rather than our individualistic demands, claims and complaints, which still dominates the dialogue, well then we're going to win that game too. So South Africans, we do know how to win. Let's just pull together to do it. Let's see what your horoscope says for the month ahead. Aries, definitely looks like things are going to be working for you in this resourceful mode that you're in now. It looks like you're making good connections, could be new connections, or old existing friends could be the connections that really seem to want to help at the moment. This is a month to draw on help. Right now, a lot of emotional and even physical support can come from people around you, and it's time to actually take that. You're often seen as a little bit erratic and instinctive and rushing into things, but there seems to be a lot more method going on right now, and you can definitely capitalize on that. This is a time where you can really plan to go ahead. The resources that you'll be able to draw from people around you and that they're willing to give you are all going to help. From a more social point of view, your friends are really your best family right now. It's time to make sure that you look for opportunities to connect online or in person if you're able to do that, and just draw some emotional resources from those that you love. That's going to make a very big difference to making the path ahead much easier for you. Taurus, don't know about those COVID regulations, but it definitely looks like it's time that you got out of the house and that you're going to do that. So going for a ride, going for a run, making sure that you get out into the open, you can certainly do that without breaking any regulations. And if you're able to, go for a bit of a long drive or a travel. You know, in other times, this would be the perfect time for traveling for you. And even though you can't go that far at the moment, you need new input. So new places, maybe take it as a challenge, places that you haven't been to before within your local province or area, and actually use that as an opportunity to bring in new stimulation and new people if you can, or new experiences if you can. This is a great time for learning anything new, so that now old, slightly dusty and hackneyed coronavirus lockdown, learn something new, actually is going to work for you. It's not just something to do to fill the time. This is a great time to acquire skills that you'll be able to use later on. And it might even be some time before you know what is the value of something that you learn at this particular time, but it's definitely going to be valuable. Make that connection, connect with new people, new places and new information, and you're all set to win after this is all over. Gemini, right now it looks like it's full steam ahead. Doesn't matter what's going on, and doesn't matter whether the lockdown is going on. It seems as if your goals are all lining up and you're able to pursue them. In fact, at whatever level, this is a really good time to put business plans into action. If your work is such that it's affected by the outer world limitations in the lockdown, well then it's just the plans or the strategies that if you lay them now, if you draw up that list right now, this is really going to work for you. Where you depend on other people or you need the help of other people, family members, people close to you, not the usual bunch, that's what's really going to work for you. So also see it as you need new resources in terms of people, and this is a good time to do it. At whatever level is possible for you, you're really going to be able to go far forward at this time. So it's time to put your foot down, put your head down, and surge straight ahead. Perhaps a bigger challenge if you are challenged by lockdown blockages, but good to know that nothing is going to stand in your way. Just go for it, and things are really going to work very well for you. On the personal front at the moment, close friends, people around you are a great source of support, but you're going to have to delegate some of the stuff at home while you get on with your professional stuff, because it's kind of now or never. Cancerians would like nothing more than to have all their friends and family around like the good old days, and hopefully those days are coming soon. But those nurturing emotional connections of yours, which are so important to you, are still going to be available through close, important friends and connections, which you can meet online, on phone, or any other way that you like. Friendship is extremely relevant right now because it looks like there's some important goals or ideals that you need to pursue that you're going to require the help of others. In anything where you require the help of others right now, you're also going to have to learn a bit more compromise. It looks like one of the things that might be holding you back is determination to stick to your plan and stick to your way, and that could be a little bit stubborn at this time. On the other hand, for personal goals, for self-employed goals, for those kind of things where you don't actually need other people's involvement, it is full steam ahead, because those ones are going to work. So this month, Cancerians, it's about finding the balance between cooperation and assertiveness, between those goals which are yours and yours to pursue, and those goals where you're going to need the help and input of others, and mostly the support. Look for the love around you. It's there. Leos, looks like another stay-at-home, quiet month for you. You will be able to continue with your goals and do your work, and in fact, as you have been for these last few months, there's a lot of hard work of your own going on. But what also shows in your chart is that there is a bit of a struggle, a blockage. For some of you, that might be the experience of loneliness, which might be affecting you at this time. And for all of you, there might be just some sense that things are really not moving forward. This is the opportunity now to identify and strip away the non-essentials. The time alone is giving you the opportunity to see what is really necessary and what really works in your life and what doesn't. And this is the month where you start getting rid of all the what doesn't. It's a great time to clear your space and in the process to build a solid foundation for yourself. Some hard decisions are going to be made this month and are going to be necessary, and they will require you to give up on certain things or step back from certain things. But give it a few months and you will never look back. It's going to be a liberating, clearing experience for you that's going to end you up on really solid ground. In the future, you'll look back and you'll say, it started over there. Virgos can get a lot done this month, but it is going to require a little bit of an adjustment to circumstances that don't seem to be cooperating with you very well. It looks like you're going to have to take back some control or focus in some way. There are things that you need to do, but something else keeps dominating, and that something else could be to do with your personal life or something to do with people rather than your goals. You don't want to go to the other extreme. This is not a time to get resentful or angry or block people off completely, because the charts show that you stand to gain from your influence over them, or your ability to put your ideas out into the world and get some return. So we are looking for better cooperation, but the truth remains that there are going to be some boundaries that are necessary so you can wrench back control of your kind of primary mission at this time. The good news is it's going to work very well. It's a great time to be pursuing that primary mission, but it's also going to be necessary to think out of the box in order to proceed from here. So on the one hand, bring it back to yourself. On the second hand, think about new strategies, new ways that you're going to do this, and new places to get your resources so that you don't get caught up like you were now in something that's distracted you completely. Get back onto your track. Libra, it looks like there's a lot going on, and actually you need to refocus yourself, refocus your energies, and cut down on some of the spreading yourself thin that's going on. While it's obviously not possible to have the kind of social life and social connections that your chart is talking about at the moment, it is a case of spreading yourself too thin and maybe following too many ideas at the same time. In terms of what your goals really are at this time, or setting tasks and goals for yourself, the challenge is to really narrow it more. Focus on one or two things at a time and don't spread yourself so thin. The same is true for the people in your life at the moment. Relationships could be a little bit challenging right now, mostly because you're trying to keep all the people happy all the time, and we all know the cliche, of course, that's not going to happen. Focus on your key relationship and have a look where the issue is arising out of not knowing whether to cooperate or assert. And this up and down between cooperation and assertiveness in your closest relationship can be confusing your partner, who might think you're blowing hot and cold. Focus on what's important, focus on what you can achieve and not all the extras, and this month will work. Scorpio, things seem calm on the Scorpio front, but things are gradually building to a head. Your feelings of frustration and blockage in many areas of your life are building to a head, and the most significant one of those that you need to be paying the most attention to is what's happening in your personal life. It looks like there's a lot of frustration there. It can even feel like you and your partner or partners in whatever situation may be are in some kind of a locked heads battle where no one's really fighting, but each of you is blocking the other, and each of you is feeling pretty frustrated. This is a great time to negotiate that and sort it out. You're in a strong position. Your partner is actually willing to do the right thing, and the people around you are actually in a supportive scenario, but you actually need to deal with your sense of frustration, which really could mean speak up, say what the problem is, and say what's not working for you. That's going to make things a lot better. You're in a position where you're really capable right now of getting the most out of those relationships and the most out of your goals, but it all requires you to actually put it on the line and say what the issue is and what the problem is. Anger might be the alternative. If there's anyone you need to really let them know how you feel, this is a great month for that. Just clear off the baggage. That's what it's all about. Sagittarius, you might be struggling a little bit at the moment, and the thing that you mostly seem to be struggling with is a classic Sagittarian thing, and that is staying still, staying in one place, staying cool, calm and collected about it. You're the lover of action and adventure. You always want to do things and you always want to go somewhere, and now this extended lockdown is obviously beginning to take its toll on you. Might not just be the lockdown. In most ordinary way, you may find that right now things are not moving forward because of everyone else. The frustration remains the same. Your challenge, Sagittarians, at this time is to find yourself that calm, rooted place. Focus on things at home. Focus on things you can do at home, and also develop some of your more personal goals, like hobbies or creative things or things which are not necessarily related to your working life, which is looking a bit more blocked and frustrated than usual. The good news is that astrology reckons there's great value to be gained from working at home and working at your creative things at the moment, and maybe reconnecting with your partner at home, if that's the case, maybe. Bottom line though is this is a time of a lesson to stay in one place and sit in one place. It's been said 100 times before, but you do need to know this is the crunch time. Just as your frustration is at the max, don't blow it now. Take another deep breath and sit calmly. Capricorn, you find yourself in the perfect opportunity to solve problems in new ways. It's not just about new ways of doing things or thinking out of the box, but this is a time when your creative skills are going to come to the fore. In fact, it's a little bit of a challenge that's going to push you a little bit further. You're going to have to come up with new solutions to problems, but this is the have to is because your creativity is what's required right now in order to take your projects, to take your path a little bit ahead and one step above the rest. The same old ways of doing things are going to be fine, but in order to stand out, in order to get things working in this very changed environment we find ourselves, creativity is what's going to be required. So creative thinking from you. If you are involved in the arts, creativity is your thing, you'll find that you can make some breakthroughs during this month. The arts have been heavily blocked by the lockdown experience, but you'll find yourself finding solutions and outlets that might not have been there before. This is the month to find new outlets. That's where your creativity will express itself best, and that's what's going to allow you to get to your goal, get to your target in a way that means success. Aquarians, while everyone else is looking a little bit blocked and a little frustrated and having to learn sit-still kind of lessons, you'll find yourself making easy progress during this time. It's a little bit like the next natural step is unfolding, and the things that you've put into place, the things that you've tried and might not have worked in recent months are now making themselves happen. This is a time that you can go ahead, you can put new things into play, and you can even draw on the people around you. The results won't be fast, but they will be visible. And like your Capricorn partners, you'll discover that the best approach is a fresh, creative approach. It's time for your ideas to fly. It's not even important whether there are other people involved or not. It's your ideas that are going to fly at this time. For those of you with children, this might also be a time when your children's needs are very demanding, and that is high on the priority list. Best thing you can do for them right now is to teach them to step out of their own box. It's possible that a child of yours requires a little bit of courage and a little bit of encouragement, and it's time for it to come from you. Let them see beyond the circumstances and find a new way to do their things that they love. Pisces, your symbol is the fish, but I often think of the water that you're in. And water sitting too long can get stagnant, and Pisces, that might be what you're feeling right now. On the one hand, feeling stagnant, and on the other hand, that leads to feeling stuck and maybe feeling a little bit of despair or self-pity or something like that. This is not the time for that, because Pisceans are prone to self-neglect, and your chart warns at this time that health issues can emerge out of self-neglect. Not paying attention to niggling warning signs from your body, or not paying attention to your diet and allowing old habits to return. So Pisces, it's your clean-up time. Cleaning up old habits, getting back onto your track, getting back onto great new habits that you might have developed at the beginning of the whole lockdown period. We're at the point where this is not the time to lose momentum, even though nothing looks like it is changing. So focusing on what's important at home, cleaning your space literally, paying attention to yourself and clearing that space as well by dealing with all the little bits. Bring yourself back to what's important. That's your domestic life. You're going to hang in there and hang on to your immediate support to get you through this last stretch before the action can start happening again. Sure looks like we have a bit of a challenge to get us through this last phase, but hang in there, sit tight, focus on what's important, and I'll see you again next week.